Hi, hello, welcome to my video. You don't know me. I know you don't know me because this is my first video, so you literally can't know me. I assume you're here because you're thinking about doing an art degree. Either that or you're just really confused and lost. Well, I'm here to help. Not with being lost, but with the art degree thing. I also want to apologize because during filming my big head kept getting in the way. I have this really bad habit of leaning right over my tablet when I'm drawing, which is probably why I'm built like a banana. But yeah, you're gonna see quite a bit of my head. I'm sorry, it's a bad habit, but just try to ignore it. It's fine, don't worry about it. I thought it would be fun to do a little video about my university experience. I recently just finished university. Thinking back, I myself actually struggled a lot to figure out if I wanted to go to university. It kind of just happened on a whim, not gonna lie. I was actually thinking to myself the other day about when I was applying to university, and I remember how hard that time in my life was. I didn't know what I wanted to do after college, and I was like, do I go to university? Do I not? Do I just go get a job in retail? So I went and got a job in retail. I lasted like a month. I didn't get fired. Some old man was yelling at me over cheese and not getting a discount, and there was a massive line behind him. And I was thinking to myself, is this really where my life's going? Getting yelled at over cheese. I mean, I like cheese. I don't want cheese to be something I view negatively or like have negative experiences with. This guy's ruining cheese for me. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna quit and go to university. I do want to put a little bit of a disclaimer because I went to university in Britain, so my experience might be a little bit different from an experience in a university in a different country. And also, I went to university during COVID, so that was fun. That was great. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into it because hopefully you won't have that kind of experience. Yeah, I didn't have a clue what I was going to do at university. I just knew I wanted to do something artsy, so I looked around some universities and I found animation. And I was like, hey, that looks fun. I can do that. I like drawing. That won't be really hard or anything to do. Yeah, animation, cool. So I applied for it and I got lucky because turns out I really enjoy it. So yes, it was an animation degree, but it's technically still an art degree. It was in the arts department, and you can tell because it was massively underfunded. We were in this back alley building, no heating most of the time. There was actually a period of time we had to work from home, even after COVID, because there was no heating, and they deemed it unsuitable for working environments. And meanwhile, you've got all the law students in their fancy new building, and there are 2 cafeterias. Meanwhile, us art students are dragging ourselves across campus to go to the store to buy a sandwich, get a meal deal, So definitely in the arts department. So I know in the title of the video it says art degree, so I'm just going to talk about it as a whole. It might not be a fine arts degree, but it's still kind of the same thing. So why did I apply if I didn't plan to apply? I'm laughing because it's mostly down to not knowing what to do with my life. I just started browsing university websites. My initial idea was to do art, but I didn't know what exactly, because fine art isn't something I particularly gravitate towards. I'm not a very fine artsy kind of person. I like going to art galleries, I just don't like standing there and looking at them and trying to decipher the meanings of them, because I think that's just too much. I'm just not one of those people you'll find sitting down at art galleries staring intently at a painting for hours on end trying to decipher the meaning of it. So I thought maybe fine art isn't exactly for me. I prefer to be much more creative, but that's really rude. I prefer to have fun with it. No, that's also rude. Hold on. I prefer drawing cartoons. That's what I was trying to say. So with things like art degrees, they're mostly coursework based, so there's no exams. Well, not in the class that I was in. Mine didn't, I didn't have exams. It was all coursework, which I much prefer because I can study for an exam for weeks and weeks and weeks, and my brain just will not retain the information. I don't know what it is. It's just information overload. I have too many other things to think about, like how cute my cat is. So I was quite happy about that. It's also fun because when other people around university are during exam season, you can see how stressed they are, but since you have coursework, you're kind of stressed constantly throughout the year. It's so that sounds really bad. That was not a good way to put it. Basically, you have work to do throughout the whole year, but your stress is a lot more balanced. It's a lot more equal. You're like an equal amount of stress throughout the entire year. So during exam season for art students, it's typically a much more relaxed, I don't want to say much more relaxed time, that's a lie. It's still stressful, it's just not as stressful. Because if people start studying for their exams at the beginning of the year, they're probably going to forget what they learned, whereas you can kind of manage your coursework in a way where you can get most of your project done at the beginning of the year if you really wanted to. So that's actually a pro. I actually really enjoyed that about the course. The stigma around art degrees though, I understand. People have this thing about art degrees, not so much anymore, but I still think it's a thing. I've even had it where people have said to me like, oh, animation, how are you gonna get a job? Do you understand? Like Disney, Pixar, even like Marvel, they all have animators. I know those are big studios, but there are so many animation studios that are looking for animators. And yes, it's hard because you need skills and you need practice, but it's worth it, I think. I think it's like a really good industry, especially if you're passionate about it. It's the same with any art career. People who do art degrees are passionate about art or animation or whatever it is, or fashion or design, so you kind of know you're gonna work hard enough to get a career in the industry. Plus it's just nice because art's like a hobby. It's more than a hobby if you want it for a career, but it's something that I would assume you enjoy doing if you want to pursue a career in it. It's not that art degrees are bad, it's just that people aren't really well educated on them. They are quite new. For example, I've talked to my mum about this when she was younger and she wanted to go to university. I think the only things she could choose between was IT and business. So art degrees are a bit newer, I suppose, which could possibly be why people might say to you, oh, well, how are you going to get a career? That's a really hard industry to get into. But if you think it's what's right for you and that's what you want to do, I would say don't let it hold you back. And it's not impossible to get a job in the industry. Also, the good thing about art careers is that you can do freelance stuff as well. If maybe you're finding it hard to get in the industry, you can work for yourself and set up your own business. And there's so many opportunities and there's so many different things you can go into with art degrees. I really wouldn't worry about it. I also believe that art degrees are better in some ways than other degrees. I know that's a little bit biased, I know, okay, but they are so much better for learning skills and developing skills. I'll tell you something, okay? I've loved art for many years now, but would I have started animation and would I have finished animations if I was just doing it in my free time without pursuing a degree in it? Absolutely not. Who has the time for that? It's only because I had briefs and deadlines that I had to adhere to that I kind of forced myself to learn animation properly and to do it properly and to finish animations. I would never have done it just offhandedly, just in my free time. It's kind of intimidating in a way, I suppose. It's a lot to do, and you don't usually finish animations in a couple of days. They can take months and months. They can take years. So when you go to university, it gives you a reason to commit to something. So that's also something to think about. Also, if art careers weren't successful, why would there be universities and colleges that just focus on art careers? There are literal universities you can go to that focus on that exact industry. It's becoming more and more popular, and I think people are starting to realize now that it is an industry you can get into. It's becoming a lot more mainstream now. I guess I'll go into some of the cons now since I've talked a little bit about the pros. I did feel like, personally for my university, that I was teaching myself a lot. This might not apply to every other university, but I felt like a lot of the time when I needed help on learning a specific technique or how to use a specific software, I was going to YouTube to find it out. I wasn't really getting... I don't want to say I wasn't getting help from my tutors and my teachers. They were very helpful, but it just felt like I wasn't getting as much out of the course as I could have been. You're paying a lot of money to be there, so of course you're going to want the absolute best you can get out of it. Unfortunately though, as I mentioned, I did go to university during the big pandemic. The world was in crisis. I had to work from home. Everyone had to work from home, not just me. And that obviously affected how my tutors could teach me as well. I can't blame it all on the way that they set it up and the way they taught us, because I mean, no one planned to have a global pandemic where we had to self-isolate and go into quarantine and the world was just completely melting down. So I don't blame them for it. It's just, I did pay a lot of money. I would have liked a little bit more out of it. I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of discovered that I really like working from home. That's just the introvert in me loving that I don't have to talk to people, you know. Don't have to talk to people, don't have to see people, can just get on with my work. Happy days. No one to bother me. But I also don't have siblings, so I can imagine working from home when you have a big family, nightmare. But for me personally, I actually enjoyed working from home. I did feel like, this is gonna sound a bit mean. I mean, I'm not gonna diss anyone, but I did feel like in some cases, there were some teachers who preferred more abstract animations, and when you did anything other than the abstract animations, you were kind of like, you'd kind of like be like, huh, okay, well, what does this mean? What's the meaning behind it? What's the big, deep meaning behind this? Like my guy, I just wanted to draw a magical whale. Leave my magical whale alone. Look, I know you have to be a critical thinker, it makes your story believable, but they always wanted us to do our projects based on things such as climate change. I think most of my projects were about climate change. It would have been nice just to create some short stories about things we want to do as well. I know if you go in the industry, it's not always going to be what you want to do, but it would have been nice to have that little bit of extra room creatively, because they did kind of hold us back in that way. Not everything has to be about climate change, you know, there are other things going on in the world as well. But even so, why can't I just draw an egg with legs? Anytime I wanted to do anything story-based, I feel like I almost got told off for it in a way. Not all the time, and not by all the teachers. There was pretty much only one person that did that, but it's still enough for me to want to complain about it, so yeah. There's always going to be that one teacher that you hate, but I think in the arts department especially, there's always going to be that one teacher who just loves abstract art or realism, and you draw anime or cartoons, or you like story-based things and they like abstract things. People have different tastes, and I do feel like sometimes, from my own personal experience, they can kind of sometimes judge you a bit because of their opinions. I didn't get bad grades, but I do feel like sometimes it was like I was getting told off for doing story-driven, cutesy animations when they were probably looking for more abstract things. Other than that, I can't think of much else to complain about. And again, that's mostly my university experience. It could be massively different from you. So, an important question that needs to be answered. Was it worth the money? Kinda. I know, that sounds terrible. Kinda is probably not what you wanted to hear, but hear me out. I say kinda because I paid a lot of money to work from home and to do everything from home and to look up YouTube videos all the time. You know, you pay for the teachers' time and for their help, and you're paying for the libraries and the books and the equipment and like all the resources the university has. When COVID hit, most of that went away, and it's like I paid so much money for not a lot in return. But again, that was COVID. You hopefully will not experience anything like that. I do want to say though that in case anyone needs to hear this, just please do what you love. I know there are going to be people in your life who might tell you, do this, don't do that. Oh, a career in the arts, that's terrible. You'll never get a job, blah, blah, blah. Are they artists? I don't think so. I mean, how many artists do you know? If you say a lot in the comments, then that's gonna make me look stupid. So instead say, I don't know any artists, you're so right and amazing. Thank you. You're welcome. The thing is that art degrees are actually really new, and I think a lot of people don't really understand them yet. A lot of the time when I would tell older people, not like old people, just people who were older than me, when I would tell them I'm doing animation, they couldn't grasp what I was actually doing. They didn't understand it. And I think a lot of people also don't really understand the demand for them these days. But even just art in general, it's just everywhere. And so many companies like to have that. They like to have artists on their team so they can make the brands look better. It's not really an uncommon thing anymore. And it's a really good tool for marketing as well. There's so many different career paths that you can go into. Animation isn't just one job. Animation is a million different jobs all combined into one process. It's the same with any art career. You can do so many different things from them. So there are a lot more jobs in the art career than you might even expect. I've left university now with a new skill set, and it's a skill set I definitely wouldn't have had I not gone to university. So just to put that to rest, don't listen to those people, okay? They're lying to you. Do they do art degrees? I think not. I also just want to say that it kind of goes against the video, but if you also don't want to go to university and you might be on the fence about it, or you're not sure, or you don't think it's really for you, but you feel pressured into it, you don't have to go to university. It's not a requirement. From the minute they're born, people are just expected to follow this one path of like, go to primary school, elementary school, go to secondary school, then college, and get a house and get a car and have kids, and that's just not how it works. If you don't feel ready for university, there is so much more time in your life to go back and go to university. You do not have to do it right now. You do not have to go get a degree right this second. There are other opportunities. You can do internships or apprenticeships. You can even do online courses now. There are courses you can do online which are much, much cheaper. Granted, you probably will have to pay for equipment for it sometimes, depending on what you're doing. But there are online courses you can take that are miles cheaper, and you probably will get a lot of benefits out of those as well. So yeah, there's not just one option. You don't just have to go to university. There's more than that. Anyway, I hope that helped in some way. I kind of had two lists of notes, and I was reading off both of them at the same time, and they were clashing over each other, and yeah, this video could be very messy, and I apologize for that. I am going to be posting next week. I'm going to be doing like this sketchbook tour from the beginning of my art journey to like now. So I thought that might be kind of interesting to do. If you're interested in seeing some more of my art, that'd be cool. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, and I really hope this did help you, and maybe it didn't. Maybe it made everything so much worse for you, and if that's the case, I am truly sorry. But either way, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!